we as humans, we do have unlimited content window, as I say, and a memory. So that's two things that we have. But agents, not agents, large language models, don't do that. Don't have that. Though they don't have unlimited context window and they don't have a memory.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Dynamics Corner. I learned a lot today, and I want to know how it runs in the background of all the AI. I'm your co-host, Kris.
And this is Brad. This episode was recorded on March 17th, 2027. You know what today is, Kris?
March 17th. Yes, it is St. Patty's Day.
St. Patrick's Day. I hope everyone's celebrating. I know it's be a little bit of celebration later on. But as you had mentioned, we had the opportunity today to speak about AI and break it down to how the fundamentals of agents work, how large language models work, and the process that it goes through to give us the answers that we're looking for. With us today, we had the opportunity to speak with Dmitry Katzin.
Hello.
Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
It looks evening there.
Hey,
I don't know.
good morning.
It's early
It is,
morning
yes.
for you there, I believe.
No, it's evening. So it's
Oh.
9 p.m.
9 p.m. I with these time zones, I can't
Not so
keep
bad.
up with it. But wow is all I can say. Since the last time we had spoken with you, the advances in AI and technology. I think we spoke to you last time about the workshop hackathon that you had done about a year or so ago, and that seems light years ago as far as technology is concerned.
It is, but it was only 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Oh, 2 years ago. See?
that was right 2 years ago. Oh man,
don't
time
even see-
flew.
I can't even. I don't know if something was last week, a year ago, 2 years ago. See, I thought it was a year ago, but I can't keep up with time, as they say, and
Right. I think we talked twice. 2 years ago
yes,
and a year ago. So it became a good tradition to talk
yes,
every day.
yes. Well, you're doing some great things, and I see you involved in doing a lot with AI development. You started out with Central Q, which is what we first spoke about, which was something that's great that you've done for the Business Central community to allow for people or users, developers, partners, everybody that uses Business Central to be able to have a place to go to use AI to help search for content. And now you've done some great contributions to Business Central, and now I see you doing some great things with development as well, and some agentic development and conversation. So that's what I hope to talk with you about.
Yeah, trying to not lose my job.
we That's a topic that we can talk about. But before we get into all that, you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Hey everyone, I'm Dmitry. I'm currently based in Thailand for 6 years already. Moved here. 20 years in Business Central / Nav, 10 years in AI, starting from machine learning 10 years ago. And now it's a long way past. So I'm doing a lot of things that I love. AL development, one side of my story. AI development, another side of my story. Now agents, architecture, that's what I put in my email as a job. Yes. So yeah, love to help people, teach people, experiment with different things, and in average love to do Business Central smarter. That's what I do.
No,
Nice.
that's great. It's great. You're doing some great things. You joked about trying not to lose my job or trying to keep my job. I think a lot of people think that way, but I think there is some reality about it. I think AI can be efficient and help you with efficiency. I think we'll have to come up with new ways to do things because I know I use it quite frequently as well. Just one thing I want to ask you. You said you mentioned you started working with machine learning 10 years ago, and now you're doing agentic development, or your agentic engineering, business-centered development, and you also do a lot of presentations. AI, it's. I think AI is. It's one of those things at this point that everybody hears it, but a lot of people may not understand it. And even within the realm of your circle that you work with, like in our group of the individuals that we speak with, everybody's all into AI. But if you step outside the group a little bit, some people still have no idea what AI is. So in the context of AI, what do you consider AI, or what do you mostly focus on when you hear the word AI? If that's a clear question, I know it's not too clear, but I think you can see the struggle that I'm finding a lot of people having with, oh, that's AI, right? Is it spell checking? Is it driving a vehicle? Is it coding? Is it robotics? So it's a little challenging.
Yeah, sometimes I get requests for 30 minutes consultation for people, and they ask me, "Can you teach us AI in 30 minutes?"
That's a fun one.
I try to do that. So, first, what I try to explain to them is that AI could be very different depending on what you need. I started with the machine learning, and at those times it was called AI, but machine learning allowed us to train our models based on our data, and we can use these models to predict things. Yeah, it could be, and prediction could be some number or an answer, yes or no. Like in this toy where you ask a question and there is yes, no. Yeah, but that was something that was trained on some of the experience. And that's actually was AI, still AI, for many cases. In 2023, actually late 2022, when large language models appeared, not appeared, but became popular because of the ChatGPT, it's also AI, and it's also prediction. But in this case, it's prediction of the next word, yeah, based on the trained data. But in this case, the trained data was the whole internet of words, texts, books, also trained by deep learning techniques, with some, of course, advanced of new architectures and new technologies over the transformers, but still it's AI, technically something, technology that predicts the next word based on what it saw previously. So if people ask me, okay, we are in the manufacturing business, and we want to predict maybe the capacity of production for the next year. What AI should we use? it's obvious to me that in this case, they would need to use the machine learning approach because it's their capacity, it's their items, they have a history of what was before, it's not new business. It's obvious to me that they need to train their own model that will predict their capacity. People think that they can just go directly to the ChatGPT and ask about it. And ChatGPT will tell you every time. How good will be that prediction according to your case, to your business? Well, you can try and compare in a 1 year. Yeah. So, but large language models are not trained to predict something like that. So to predict capacity to optimize manufacturing, to do this complex stuff. So AI could be different depending on what task you want to solve. Large language models are trained on text. They predict text. If there was a very good book about how capacity should be planned, this large language model step could be used in a pipeline to set parameters for the machine learning trained model. Yeah. So it could be used as a step, but not as a final solution in the pipeline. So choosing the right tool is still what will keep our jobs.
Yes, yes. No, well, someone sent me a meme. Believe it, I still get memes occasionally, far fewer than I used to get. But it said, AI won't replace you if your job is to use the AI or to build the AI or something. So it's true. But
Yes. I actually wanted to experiment with that, and I think last month I asked Claude, knowing everything about me, can you predict would AI replace me or not? Yeah. So, and Claude told me that as part of my job is to create AI agents, then I could be safe. Yeah, because that's what will be required as a job, at least for the next year. But then,
so you're safe for 1 year.
In the next week, But then in the next week after that, LangChain, which is actually the agents, one of the agents frameworks, they released an agent that can build agents on top of their framework. So previously, it was LangChain had very good agents framework, which is called LangGraph, and then deep learnings and deep agents and so on. But it required experience and knowledge how to do that. But then they release other agents that already have this knowledge, and you can just ask, and it's actually very similar what we had 3 years ago. 3 years ago, everyone talked that the prompt engineering is everything. Yeah, so
yes.
you need to know how to write prompts.
Yes,
in this
I remember
case,
that.
you're safe. Yeah, you remember that. But then we now have large language models that write prompts on behalf of us, and we use these prompts every day, and they do that work much better.
Yes. Yeah, use agents to ask how to write prompts better. Here's what I'm trying to do. Create me a prompt for this agent.
exactly, and then build this agent. Yes. So
Yes.
so I would not so very sure, 100% sure that even my job would not
That
be
was only
replaced
one
in
week
1 year.
apart.
I think
Exactly.
that it's some jest, some laughing in there, but I think
It's a nervous laugh, Brad. That's what it is.
no, I laugh at it because I think with the rate of the change that it's going. I think worrying about your job or your future is creating a lot of stress, where I think sometimes just focus on what you're doing, solving the problem, using the tools to solve the problem can make it a little bit easier. But I do agree with you. The rate of change within AI is very difficult to keep up with. It's almost if you go to sleep for the night, you'll miss out on something new. And I almost think I should go to sleep for a couple weeks, because then I'll miss all the talk about something and I'll be able to see just what's new or maybe what we level out on with it.
Many people are wondering nowadays if, especially if we talk about AI for coding, if I gain some experience and this speed me up in creating the final product, so I now know how to use AI to create software, should I share this knowledge to other people? Because if I have this knowledge nowadays, that's my advantage. If other people don't have this knowledge and experience, I can win comparing to them. Yeah, that's the question that many people ask, even in our MVP community. I recently wrote a blog about that, and I had this question asked for myself as well many times. But I think that what makes our generation still successful, and we can still develop technologies in so rapid space because we share the knowledge. I think that's a lot of open source projects that appeared recently, a lot of blogs about a lot of YouTube channels like that, like yours. If people share the knowledge, maybe they think that they will lose in short term, but I think that if you share the knowledge, that's actually what I discovered on my experience on myself, that if you share the knowledge, you become more respected in the world, because other people can listen to you. They can apply your experience or not, but not everyone will do the same things as you can do. I mean, it's easier to do that, but not everyone will do that. So yeah.
And no, I understand. I think the sharing is important, and I think this is new to everybody, and I think we can all be successful. And I do believe, like you're saying, trying to be the only one to hold on to the information isn't going to bring you ahead. I think it's having the ability to share with others brings everybody forward, including yourself. Like you said, you do get respected if you're someone who works with it. People understand that you work with it. But as you had mentioned, even in some of the groups that we're in, people ask questions or they say things that they've worked or didn't work. So the collaboration has become more important because it can bring everyone forward. You do quite a lot with AI. And I was asked the question recently, and I thought about my experience with it, because I was extremely intimidated by it at first. Okay. And then I went from being intimidated by it to now I use it for many tasks in the day, not just coding. I use it for a lot of tasks. But if you were to talk with somebody, let's just say we can bring it into whether it's Business Central Development, Business Central Project Management, anybody who is maybe functional consulting, or even anybody who wants to be speaking. Okay. We hear of AI, we hear of agents, we hear of prompting, we hear of instruction files, I hear of skills, I hear of tasks, I hear of Claude, I hear of OpenAI, I hear of Copilot. There's so much information out there that it's overwhelming and can be intimidating. But someone such as yourself that has been working with AI for many years, you do a lot of sessions on AI, you created a lot of great things with AI. Where would somebody start? So if you were to have a new developer or somebody like that, where would you recommend they start to be able to understand, to use some of these tools to be able to help them be efficient? Or how do you think they should start?
There is a common opinion that to learn things, you need to start doing things, which I partly agree with. However, I think that going through some webinars, like maybe workshops, or playlists in the YouTube channels, which a lot of are free nowadays, you first can get this structured understanding. Not try this and then discover how this thing works, and then try other thing and discover how that works. For many people, maybe that approach will work. For more structured approach, I would recommend to start exploring and learning from trainers, or from books, or from some structured content. But on the same way, you need to understand what you want to do, what you want to achieve, what's your task, what's your goal. And depending on that, search for this structured content. One of the websites that I usually recommend is called deeplearning.ai. There are a lot of free courses for many different topics from the respected trainers, the management from different AI labs, the engineers, and so on. So that's one of the places that I recommend to go. Also, especially for building agents, I would recommend to go through the Claude Academy. Also, OpenAI has its own academy, but you need, of course, to understand that each of these courses built from the AI labs, they are focused on their tools. Yeah, so if it's actually okay, because many tools works in the similar way, but yeah, also could be a good approach.
Okay. So your suggestion is, instead of trying to learn everything, try to find a task that you want to complete, then find structured learning to take you through that task so you can go from start to finish, versus trying to piece together little pieces. And that can help you get some comfort with how it all works.
Yes, but that approach works very well if you don't know the area. So if you want to go from zero, if you're already familiar with some tools, with the technology, how it works, then probably trying to solve things would give a better output. So you learn while doing things, but only if you know the basics.
Okay. So if you know the basics, try to solve problems. If you're starting from the beginning, find a task or something, and then go through the path of learning the basics to complete some task. Because I think there's a lot again, there's a lot of people. I got lost for a little while because everyone we speak with, all they talk about is what they're doing with AI. That you have a conversation with someone out of the pool that you're in, and you realize that there still are a lot of people that are just learning AI. Even within Business Central, Business Central has a lot of AI features in it outside of the coding. Even some of those features and functionality within the application, many are still learning how to use and how to take advantage of the benefits of using those.
Question for the both of you, actually. And Dimitri, this may be pertinent to you. We talked about the community and our little circle, right? So we talked about AI and how we use the tools. And on the last episode, we had a brief conversation about, outside of that, maybe family members, what do they perceive AI? They know you work in AI, but they're in a different industry. But to me, that's still within my sort of larger bubble. In this case, my region area. I live in Washington State, right next to Microsoft, essentially. Now, for you, Dimitri, living in Thailand, how are the people around you that are using, or what's their perception of AI? Is there anyone using it, and to what degree? Knowing with your background, a lot about AI and machine learning.
Most of people who I know who are not in IT completely, they know only one AI tool, which is ChatGPT. So that's I do know the owners of the dive office where they organize diving, traveling, car renting. We live in the island. That's a touristic place, so many businesses like that are very popular here. I do have many friends in them as well. Sometimes they ask my advice. I try to help them as much as I can, but they don't know actually anything about the agents. They don't know the word agents. They know how to go to the ChatGPT and ask questions there, which I think maybe it's okay. I mean, that helps them. But I try to teach my wife, for example, to use Claude. So as a previous HR, she's not very familiar with those kind of tools, but at least I show her how to connect maybe some services that she use to get more content, so she gets better experience with this AI tools. But we live in the bubble. That's true. That's true. And this bubble is not very big, to be honest, comparing to the world and to the number of people who use just ChatGPT. Maybe we have, I don't know, like 10 million people in the bubble.
And it sounds like a lot. Yeah, it sounds like a lot, but it's not a lot. And that's where sometimes I have to take a step back and realize that everyone's at a different point in their journey. And also, it's good that you had mentioned you're showing your wife how to use Claude or some tools for AI, because AI now, I use the word AI, but the agents and the tools aren't just for development. you can use them for many different things. You talked about doing some analysis of information. You used it for its HR point of view. I know people use it to create, from business central point of view, create statements of work, create business requirements documents, create change request documents. It does a lot more than just create software applications. You can use it as a tool to assist you in many areas. So it's good that you're doing that. But to bring it back, go ahead.
Yes, but also for myself, I'm using AI in the personal life as well, not only for the job. Recent case was interesting. I had to apply for the visa, and one of the requirements was to list all of my travels through the last 10 years. So
Wow.
I thought, how could I do that? Because where should I take all this information? And to do this manually, it would be, I mean, I don't have so
Yeah.
much time for that. So I thought, okay, definitely I need to use AI for this task, but I do have personal emails, I do have work emails. I thought that I need to find information about tickets. Yeah, so we all have this information in emails. I tried existing AI services like in ChatGPT and even cloud, but they couldn't do that properly. So I created two different MCPs for myself, for the Gmail and for the Outlook, and also the agent that used this MCP with the personal instructions. So I started that. They actually did the work. The agent looped through my emails, did great search, found all the tickets structured, and I checked that. There were some mistakes, but I edited them, and I got the long list of my traveling for the last 10 years. But existing AI tools couldn't do that. Even those simple tasks, I think. But I used my experience in AI development. So I vibe coded or used agents to develop these MCPs, to develop the agent, and then put all together. So yeah, I
That's
apply
amazing.
this knowledge to my personal life as well.
It's amazing at what we can do with this technology, and that's where I just sometimes have to take a step back and just say wow. And as you had mentioned, it's I think a lot of people are afraid of it because they don't understand it. But if you flip it around to see some of the tasks like you had to do, like searching emails, it's how can I use it to help me do these tasks? So it's not replacing you. Again, I think it's just the fear of the unknown. It's not necessarily replacing somebody. It just makes someone's tasks a little bit easier, which I guess, you may need less people to do some of those tasks if you can do it quicker, or you can do more tasks. But it's something that can be of a big benefit to you. Now, you had mentioned agents. We talk about these word agents. What is an agent? Is it, I think they're people, and I now talk to it. But if you had to describe an agent to somebody, if who's new to it, what is an agent? Because Business Central, we see a sales order agent, we see a purchase order agent, we see an expense agent, and now we see an agent preview where we can create our own agents. What is an agent? And how do you create one? You said you created agents. So how do you create an agent too? A lot of questions I have.
I participate in also agent conferences in different cities. and what is the agent is always the first slide on each of the keynotes in the agent con.
Oh,
And the term and description what is the agent is different to depending on who you ask. You ask me, and I am the technical person. So my definition of agent is a large language model working in a loop, trying to solve a task using tools. So that's my technical definition of the agent. Let me describe this step by step. In the world of large language models, when we just started with the ChatGPT, it was always a question and then generated answer. It was one interaction. When we tried to solve the task using large language models, using the ChatGPT, we were the agent. Yeah? We knew what we want to achieve, and we asked large language model several times until we got the solution or the final answer that is the solution to our question. So it was a dialogue, yeah, several multiple interactions, but in this case we were the agent. Now, when the large language model became better, they achieved a new skill, let's say. So they achieved a skill to ask questions to themselves instead of us trying to ask ChatGPT. So now they can ask a question to themselves and generate the answer, and then look into the answer and ask question once again, trying to make the final solution closer. Yeah. So now it's a dialogue not between us and large language models. Now it's a dialogue between the large language models and the large language models. Yeah.
this all sounds so futuristic to me that the
not.
agents
It's
learn a
not.
skill to ask themselves. I don't even want to try to understand it, but I have to try.
Yeah, okay, so maybe I'll rephrase this. So the easiest way to understand that, if we want to create some software, let's say, it's easy to understand on the development of the software, and we need to create a feature. First thing that we need to understand what this feature should do, yeah, and then we as a developers usually plan how we will implement this feature. We need to create a table, then we need to create a page, then we need to maybe add a field, then we need to write a code unit, then we need to create a code unit, then the function, then to link everything together. Yeah, so that's our feature. The agents, not the agents, okay, large language models now can do the first step. They can plan. They can plan how to, what tasks they need to execute to get this feature done. Yeah. So first step they plan, and then they start to execute this plan. But the execution of the plan is once again asking questions to myself as a large language model. What is my next task? Yeah, okay, this is my next task. What code should I generate to make this task happen? Yeah, okay, now I generate the code. Now I see, now I need to check my code. I look at the code. Okay, that looks good. Let's continue with the next task. Then we switch to the next task and so on. So that's what I define as a large language, using large language models in a loop. Yeah.
Okay.
They asking questions and they solve these questions in a loop.
Are they asking these questions? You mentioned before that the large language models are predictions of the next word.
Yes.
Are they determining how to ask these questions based on a prediction of the next words?
Yes, because they see their previous conversations with themselves. So yeah, so they look in the in their previous conversation. What was the last question? Now I need to solve this question. Here is the answer. Now it's the bigger conversation. Then it's continued until the job is done. Okay. We also have what is called tools. So because the tools were in my definition. Yeah.
Yes.
So large language models solving tasks in a loop using tools. Okay. What are the tools? The tools is something that already pre-built, some functions that we have already, that large language models can tell us to execute, because large language models itself, it's something that generates text. Yeah, so this is the prediction of next text. They can't go to our system and click on the action, click something, run something, run some code. They cannot do that. So the tool is actually a connection.
Okay.
Between this. So tool is something that we have. Maybe the browser. Open the browser. That's one tool. Okay. So, but large language models can't open the browser on our machine. We can create a code, a script that will open the browser, and then we can tell the large language model that you can tell me to open the browser. Okay, so when large language models decide that to achieve their goal, to solve their task, it needs to open the browser, it tells us to open the browser. We run the script that opens the browser, and then we send the output to the large language model. What is in the browser? Yeah.
This is just amazing. So now I just want to bring it back. I like to put it to simple examples. So now an agent is a person that learned things just like we've learned things based on reading, conversation, and information available. And now it needs to build a house. And to build a house, it needs to use the tools to do the job. So if you want to screw in a screwdriver, it doesn't know how to screw in a screw, but we say, here's a screwdriver that can screw in the screw for you, and it will execute that turning in the screwdriver. Taking it back to this, so then, see, these tools that you have are pieces of code that the language model knows that it has available to it to do things. So the language model isn't doing anything. It's the code that's running that does something, and then it returns information back to the large language model. and then the large language model reads that information or takes in that information and tries to predict the next words based on the results of what it had.
100% accurate. Yes.
Okay. And the difference with using agents versus using the chat GPT of yesterday, or a couple years ago, I call it yesterday because it just seems like yesterday, it was more, I ask a question, I get an answer, pretty static, right? So it was static interactions. Now with agents and tools, it gives us the perception of being more, it's still static in steps, but it gives us the perception of being dynamic because it keeps looping, as you had mentioned a moment ago. So now the agent will get text, that text it will use to determine I need to use a tool to go do something else. I'll get the result back, I'll analyze it, do the next step, and keep going and keep going and keep going until I think I should be done. I use the word think, but I guess until the next word is done.
Yes, exactly. However, you mentioned that it's agent is a person, and
Well, I think of it's like a person.
yes, yeah, I know that many people, when communication with the agents, they try to communicate with a person. It can work in many cases, but I personally try to keep remembering, yeah, that this is a technology, and because the way to communicate with the agent to get the most of effectiveness from for the final result is to know all these details, all these nuances, how it's running, how it's solving the task, because it's very different to a person how we solve the tasks. And one of the main differences is that we as humans, we do have unlimited content window, as I say, and a memory. So that's two things that we have, but large language models don't do that, don't have that. Though they don't have unlimited context window and they don't have a memory. You always need to remember that when you ask a question inside of your VS Code, inside of your cursor, in the chat, you send a new request to somewhere, and this large language model that should answer on this request, it doesn't know anything about you, about your previous interactions, about your tools, about nothing. Yeah. So if you don't use any tools, and don't use any MCPs, just raw chat, it will not be effective. Comparing to the person, if you talk to the person yesterday, you suppose that if the person doesn't have lobotomy, he will reply to you today. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So when I also try to describe how this agents works, or in particular one individual step inside of this loop, is that when you ask a question, you send the request to someone who is completely dead, and then it wakes up, it's reborn, it's born, and then it reads your request, try to answer your question, answers, and it's died once again. Okay, so it's so, and then when you continue conversation, you ask the second question, you send it once again, it's once again reborn without remembering anything about the previous life. It reads then your previous conversation, message 1, message 2, and then, okay, and then it answers the question, and then it's died once again.
Okay.
So our job is to prepare this message history as effective as possible. So it, on every call, it will read it and can understand what you want from him, from it.
You gave it a hit.
Listen, I talked to, I have many agents that I talked with. So anytime that we talk, anytime that I talk with anyone, I try to bring it back to make sure I understand what you're saying. And then also for anyone listening, if they can get a different way of hearing it. An agent isn't a person. We just make it look like it's a person. It's basically you send it a piece of text. That's all it knows because it's a command. You're sending it one command. It will execute that command, like whatever it needs, predict the next word, or I use the word execute. It will run that command, send information back, and at that point, it's gone. There's no memory or persistence of memory. If you're having a loop, what it's basically doing is taking the first thing that you sent it, a listing of all the tools that it has, right? And then first, when you wake it up, you tell it, here's all the tools you have. Here's my first question. It gives you an answer. Then when you ask the second question, it basically, with these frameworks, will send the first question and the list of tools, their results, then your next question, so that every time it's in essence resending the entire conversation and list of tools in the context of tools to the agent. So it doesn't have memory. It just has more information sent as part of your question that you don't see as being sent in the background. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. So
in these terms, yes, in these terms, nothing actually changed since the large language models appeared. So the architecture and the technology behind the large language models is the same. We just built a lot of framework services, whatever you call it, that actually automate giving to the large language model more context in the most effective way, so it can answer your question as best as it can.
see, that's interesting. So the underlying architecture hasn't changed. It's how we interface with the architecture that's changed. It's progressed forward. So if you don't recommend talking to it as a person, what is the best and most efficient way to speak to an agent or to type to an agent? I don't even know, because again, the context, right? I hear this word context, right? So context is how much stuff you can send to it at once, correct? So again, if we have 10 questions that we've asked, we keep sending it the same 10 questions, eventually, just like my brain, it fills up, right? So how do we manage and talk to an agent to be able to maximize the results that we get back from them?
What I am trying to do, at least to keep in mind, that's my exercise, what I do time to time, is to place myself on the agent side.
Okay.
So I need I am asked to do this, and I see only this information. Am I able to effectively solve this task knowing only this? Or I need to know something more. Yeah? So that's how I look at this. Now, on our side, when we talk to agent in the chat window, we need to think what information agents need to see to solve these tasks as effectively as possible. Yes, agents in the current IDEs like VS Code, the Cursor, or the Claude code, or the GPT, or the OpenAI Codex, they have built-in tools to search things on their own. They can search web, they can search files. That's tools that already pre-built. Yeah. So even if we don't give this information during our conversation, the agents can help themselves, yes, and search things if agents thinks that it will help to solve the task. Yeah. But still, if we if this information is not available anywhere, yeah, if it sits somewhere in the other folder in our computer that the agents no clue about, that I can search there. Yeah, so we need to provide this information that you can also search there in this folder. Okay, so like in the Business Central AL development, if we return back to our trenches, we have a great repo, yeah, made by Stefan, which is BC history, which I think all developers have on site, with all the source code of the Business Central. Yeah, and then we work inside of our extension. Yeah, so try to connect them. What I'm doing, I add the history repo as a subdirectory, sub Git directory inside of my AL extension. So that's one of the ways. Or maybe if you have this on site in your computer, you can also tell the agent that you can go and search information there, how the Business Central works. Yes, there are also MCPs that can search information through the symbols, but and I use those as well, but not all information can be found through the MCP, through the symbols. So I prefer to use raw Business Central code as a place where my agents can search information for while trying to solve my task for my extension.
Understood. Okay, I like that strategy, so that it knows it can search the frameworks allow them to search other tools or other things to be able to help them get it. The agents don't have a memory. They only have the context of the conversation. I hear things now about memory. I hear things about context. How do you give it memory? Do you just save conversation history and say, refer to my history? Or is there another way that you can do memory? And how much space do we have for it to search, because I know if I were to do a task, you said, think of if I had this, how would I do it, right? Do I have enough information? If it doesn't remember anything and it has to go through, look, Stefan's BC history repo, which is a great repo because you have the localizations and the versions of previous to go through. Doesn't it take a lot to search through all of that and remember it all?
So remembering is not the right word here. There is no memory. Okay. It once again, what many people call a memory is information, external information, where the agents can search for some content, depending on the current task. So it's not the memory of the agents. They don't have a memory. I think we should clearly state that. Yes, the frameworks like IDEs. I don't know, frankly speaking, about Visual Studio Code way of storing the conversations, but Cursor, I know that around months ago or 2 months ago, they changed the way how they store the long conversations. Previously, if you had a very long conversation, more than 180,000 tokens, they run a tool to summarize it. Yeah, so the summarization is actually take a big text and short it down to keep only the most of the important information from that. It worked. It works, but many nuances are lost during this step. So because of that, when we continue conversation after the summarization and we ask the agent, hey, can you do the same as you did 5 steps before? It cannot continue because it doesn't have this information in his history. What they did recently, they now automatically save all the long conversation in a separate files in the system folders, and in the summary they have a reference points to the original files. Yeah, so this helps agents to see that, oh, okay, we talked about that. I don't know what exactly we discussed, but I can look there. Yeah, so it goes to the original file, search once again for this information, grab this piece of information, and then continue. So this is called offloading of text or long text.
So it makes it look like it's memory, but it's really not memory. It's just, here's a sentence with the pointer, in essence, to a larger file for a bigger context of conversation. So it gives us the perception that we are dealing with something that's remembering it, but it's not. It's still the same old loop of go here, read a piece of information, do something, save it. And just it's so all of the effort then on all of these tools or these frameworks, right? Because I hear a lot about models and frameworks. I could talk to you about all this for days. So you have all these models that are the large language models. That's the underlying technology. And then you have the framework, and the framework would be Claude, GitHub Copilot, Cursor, or other platforms that interact with these models. So what they're doing is just building technology that interacts with a large language model, but becomes efficient at dealing with context. That's why I could use GitHub Copilot with Opus 4.6 with one prompt, get a result. I can go into Claude, Opus 4.6 with the same prompt and get a different result because it's the way that they manage how it works with the model. It's not the model that's different. So it's the framework that's different. See?
Yes.
I
Yes,
have
exactly.
all this. I am now an AI expert.
Until tomorrow, it changes. You only have 24 hours, Brad, to claim that.
Yeah. Now you're a little bit more safe.
Yes, yes, for maybe one more day because wow, this is a lot, but it's I really like how you explain the separation between the large language model architecture and how the frameworks are using or looping through to communicate with the architecture and the perception of memory. So when
That's good. Very learned.
when I talk
It's a
with
good
my
one.
when I talk with my agent, so I shouldn't be writing. And Kris knows me well. I don't do this to anybody. I write "thank you." That was good. So I shouldn't write any of that back after it's done, or should I just?
Um,
I shouldn't give it praise.
Because it's going to loop through that again. Every time you ask something.
if you feel better, you can.
Okay.
Well, we want to humanize things like that. I think that's the purpose.
I haven't played with it yet because again, there's just so much to work with on this technology, and it's very difficult to keep up with it. And we didn't even go down the road of having agents manage agents because that's a whole other conversation. But I really want to get to the point where I can talk with it and it will do something and then talk back to me. Right? I know there's some voice prompts and there's ways you can get the voice in, but I want it to be like if I could hook up something like 11 Labs where it can like talk back the results or do something, I think that would be impressive because then I would never leave the house. I would talk with it. So
I think it's already available.
yeah, no, I've seen people that have it. I haven't really experimented with that because now I'm working on some other things. Like I said, I can't keep up with everything. I mean, between working with the
Wait, Brad, don't you do that right now with Grok? Like, did you have a conversation with that?
man, I used that the other day to be honest with you for the first time just to show someone, but you're talking about Grok on the phone. The Grok in the vehicle is different because I just say, find me a route to here at a charging spot or something. But on the phone, I don't do it now because everything I found that between GitHub Copilot and Claude, like the Claude framework, I can do everything I need to do. And even now with Claude being able to access it on your phone, and I can start something in one place, I can access it on my phone to continue doing it, and then even now you have I have this joke about the lobsters and everything where you can have like these frameworks set up where you can you can connect to them remotely. I don't really use Grok much anymore.
I guess I was thinking about the vehicle because like I think a couple of weeks ago I had a long drive, so I had to do a quick conversation about a topic, and it was just like a nice little quick banter, and I was like, okay, well, I'm done for that topic. It was pretty interesting to have its own opinion about a specific topic. Obviously, it's based on context that it has access to, but I thought it was pretty fascinating. So eventually, I would think that Business Central would have that down the road where it'd be like a business manager agent in Business Central where you can have a conversation about strategy, and it's going to give you perhaps an answer, conversational answer, based on the information it has. One day.
I will try that. Oh, I will try to have a conversation with Grok in the vehicle as I'm driving to see if we can do some of that. I think if you can get to the point where you can summarize, for example, the sporting game for me, or something like that, where I do try to do that now. I do more of like stock analysis, like go out and give me, the current stock price of Nvidia versus where it was last year, compare it to the Dow. I try to do stuff like that and say, give me a graph. But I think if I could do that type of stuff in the vehicle, like give me a summary and an analysis real time like that, I think that would be worthwhile. So it's interesting.
I use the voice mode time to time. I find it very effective for me when preparing for the conferences, for example. When I want to when I want to prepare for the speech, and as a non-English local native speaker, um, I always try to prepare for the session, and the voice mode helps me to structure content, maybe to rephrase something, maybe to learn new words, new phrases, and so on. So, because the voice mode works not like a voice to text, then text to voice. It's directly voice to voice. Yeah, so it's generating voice. Because these modes, the multimodal large language models, are called those because previously they were trained on text as input and text as output, but then they were trained on the audio as an input and audio as an output directly without
Wow.
I
transcribing.
did not know that.
I didn't know that
Yes,
either. I thought it was
yes.
transcription.
No, it's not. It previously was transcription, but I think around 2 years ago they changed. They trained the large language models from the audio sources directly. Um, so that's why they can hear the nuances of the voice, um, how loud are you, all these things that could not be possible just going through the transcription. That's why these voice modes are really helpful, at least for me, for such kind of tasks, like a
I
Wow.
have to look
personal
into that. I
instructor.
like that because, as you had mentioned, if it can help you prepare for a session or a speech or an engagement where you're talking, and it can analyze your audio and provide feedback on that,
I'm learning
that is
so
extreme.
much today. It's crazy. I had no idea that was the thing.
Do you want to know the problem? I'm so old, my context window is filling up. I need to start doing this. I need to start doing the summary of, oh, I had this chat here, go back and listen to it. And then I can have the conversation. I need to have that put into my brain so they can just do all that
Wow.
with everything. Wow, I have to look into that more now because I think we're getting closer and closer to what I was thinking. And then you can have an animation of it as well when it's speaking. Again, it's all just visual, but then I could really feel like I'm talking with someone. I'll ask you a question on your thoughts of this. So you understand and I've asked this to others. So large language models, they're trained on information. And now we talked about all these technologies, these tools, the perception of memory. If I went through and recorded my life every day, 24 hours a day of my interactions, could AI create me to where you could sit down and talk with me and think you're talking with me? So if it recorded like it had a recording, whether it be a text or audio or anything, of how I interacted and how I did everything and what I did, do you think it would create something, or it could create something that resembled
That
me?
would that would be maybe a good imitation of you. Um However, it will not be 100% your duplicate, your digital duplicate, because it doesn't have all the information. It will not have all the information from your brain, because what I want to say, when you do something, there are some signals coming to your brain. The signals are coming from the sensors. Yeah, so we have our body as a big sensor, from audio, from ears, video, from eyes. Um, but also there are a lot of sensors inside of our body. Yeah, so there are a lot of happening inside of our body, and our brain receives all of this information. So that information allows to predict next thing. Yeah, so to allow us to make next step, or how better to
So it's like
call
a
it.
large language model. It's predicting the next step based on what it knows.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is predicting, obviously, but the amount of data we receive to make this prediction of the next step is a lot more than large language models receive.
I think for you too. I think for you too. It's like it's a I think it's if you were to store yourself, Brad, first they would need a ton of storage, right? I think it's like by petabytes is how much your brain contains, all the storage, and then on top of that, you also have to. It's almost like you're only at that point in time of what you store. So any new information you receive, it would stop at that point. It says, yeah I mean.
Yes. So yes, it's a lot. It's a lot of. It's just a lot of information that our technology currently just we don't have the space where to store this information, and the tools to receive this information. Yeah. So if we can inject the electronic device to each of the neurons, and each of our neurons receives thousands of inputs. Yeah, so if theoretically we can do this and save all this information and train this on top of this, maybe then yes. Did you read about the recent experiment with a flower fly?
I did not. But you just before I want to hear about it, but before you do, I'm not saying if they could do this with the brain. I'm saying when. It may not be in my lifetime, but with the way this is going, we will be at that point at one point in the future, I believe.
You do need power, which I also read, where we only consume 20 watts of power when we're using a brain compared to a prompt or what an agent uses for power.
Yeah, so there was experiment.
Yes, I want to hear the experiment.
Recently, the flower fly brain has around maybe 1,000. Maybe I could be not fully correct here, but let's say around 1,000 of neurons. And around 150,000 of connections between of these neurons. So the scientists, they put all these neurons and put all these connections to the computer model. Yeah, so discovered all these physical connections and copied that to the digital world, and created not the model that was trained on this brain, but actually reproduced the brain digitally.
I have to read this experiment.
Yeah, so they just reproduced digitally the same brain of the flower fly as it has, and then they created the digital body of this flower fly, and connected this digital brain to the digital body, and it became alive digitally. So it's actually they look how it moves. It search for the food.
Wow!
Wow!
It's actually pretty awesome. I mean,
that
it's
is amazing.
Maybe frightening, but it happened last in February. So you can find this information.
I will look that up. No, thank you. That is, see, we're getting there.
You're right. It's when. When is that?
I do see a point because, I won't even get into it because some people think I'm crazy, but I do see a point in the future where you just take your brain and you plop it into a body and that's it. You're we're getting closer and closer.
Wasn't there a show like that where you could just hop into another body? I forgot what was it.
That was different. I think you could teleport into the bodies, but I'm saying now you could have a robot body that you control because now, age is just, deterioration of cells and, it's just the age of your body. But if you can replace those parts and still control them, you could be a cyborg and live forever. Like the future. I could talk with you all day about this. And to be honest with you, we covered quite a bit. Hopefully, those that are listening were able to get a little bit more understanding of how this works.
I learned a lot.
It's just amazing. It's amazing. But we do appreciate taking the time to speak with us. And again, as we talk about, time is precious. It's truly the currency of life. Once you spend it, you don't get it back. So any moment you spend talking with us is time you spend not doing something else. So we do appreciate it. If anyone would like to, I laugh a little bit because it's just mind blowing, all the information that you can share. If anybody would like to reach you or contact you to learn more about AI and learn about some of the other great things you're doing, such as speaking sessions and conferences and the other, again, training services that you have for AI, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
LinkedIn, Dmitry Ketson. Easily find me there. My website, ketson.com. All the contacts are there. I will be in person in Directions Asia in Ho Chi Minh this year. I'll deliver the AI development for AL workshop. And also then in BC Tech Days, hopefully I will get visa without any issues. Antwerp, Belgium, June. Great place to be.
You're going to be all over. I didn't hear Orlando and Directions North America, though. You're not making it to that one?
Still, U.S. Visa process. Very challenging.
Well, hopefully we can get you here for one of these events in the upcoming future.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it would be great to have you. I think everyone would benefit from all that you can do. But it sounds like you have a big year ahead of you with these sessions, and we do appreciate everything that you do and all that you share. I think you share some great things. And thank you again for Central Q. I know a lot of people are using that, so that's another way if you go to Central Q to find a way to get in contact with you and also to use that service to be able to get information to assist with Business Central implementations, whether it be development or from a functional point of view. Thank you again. Look forward to speaking with you soon. And now I have to go take a break because my brain is full. But we appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you, everyone who listened to this podcast. Was glad to be here. Always nice to talk to you guys. Thank you.
Likewise, Dmitry.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you, Chris, for your time for another episode of In the Dynamics Corner Chair. And thank you to our guests for participating.
Thank you, Brad, for your time. It is a wonderful episode of Dynamics Corner Chair. I would also like to thank our guests for joining us. Thank you for all of our listeners tuning in as well. You can find Brad at developerlife.com. That is DVLPRLIFE.com. And you can interact with them via Twitter, DVLPRLIFE. You can also find me at matalino.io, MATALINO.io. And my Twitter handle is Matalino16. And you can see those links down below in the show notes. Again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, and take care.